I'm Rob Van Rapphorst. Welcome to MBA Now. We are deep into summer, and with the August recess upon us, there is a lot happening. Here to talk about it with us is our chief lobbyist, Bill Killmer. Bill, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, glad to be here, Rob.
Bill, can you run through quickly what we're monitoring on Capitol Hill and in Washington?
Sure. It's kind of a crazy, dysfunctional time. That's been the new normal here for a while. A lot of partisan bickering, and Democrats in control of the House, Republicans in control of the Senate. And the Trump White House negotiating between the two. Importantly, for our industry, it looks like a budget deal has been struck to lift the federal spending caps, and tied to that was pushing out the debt ceiling, taking away the fear of default of federal debt for a couple of years. And so that's good. That could always have the potential to roil the marketplace, and for an interest rate sensitive industry like ours, good to have that off the table. That also will grease the skids for work on spending measures like the money that we've been lobbying to try to get for FHA and HUD for the single family IT infrastructure at FHA. And so feeling good that the Senate may follow suit and do what the House has done and specify a $20 million tranche, the second tranche of 4, hopefully, over the next several years, for them to upgrade the single family infrastructure.
Looking at other specific legislation, the president just signed into law the VA Orphans Bill, and I know this has been a big bill that not only we've been monitoring but working on for some time.
Oh yeah, no, really for the last 15 months. And it does prove that you can still get stuff done with your shoulder to the wheel, and if you can put bipartisan coalitions together. And that bill, which was signed into law, we were able to lobby and work with a bipartisan duo in the Senate to get passed by unanimous consent, and then an identical measure in the House as well. It had passed the House in the previous Congress by voice vote as well. But importantly, for our members that were affected, if they had VA refinance loans that were orphaned and couldn't be pooled into Ginnie Mae securities, that relief is effective immediately. And then going forward, importantly, this harmonizes the effective date process for Ginnie Mae on these VA refinance instruments, and so that won't be a problem in the future as well. So good to get that done after working on it for over a year to fix a technical glitch in a drafting error.
Yeah, one other big issue we're closely looking at is housing finance reform. There's been some movement on the Hill, but really we're waiting on the administration to release their plans, right?
Right. The White House seems to be reviewing work from Treasury and HUD per that presidential memo on this topic. Some frustration in the Senate, particularly Senate Banking Committee Chairman Mike Crapo. He can't find any Democratic dance partners to work on a comprehensive outline that he released, much of which mirrors the MBA white paper on GSE reform. And absent that, he's thinking about doing some rifle shots, some smaller slices of bread on like GSE credit risk transfer and things of that sort. The House is really waiting to see if the Senate can do anything at all, and so Maxine Waters, as chairwoman of House Financial Services, probably not going to put her shoulder to the wheel because of the time and energy and effort and political capital it would take to get something done. So that leaves FHFA and Director Mark Calabria really firmly as the guy who's going to stir the drink on this after the Treasury and HUD reports become public.
Lastly, let's talk about flood. I know the House has been working on a long-term extension for the NFIP. There's also been some movement in the Senate. What are we hearing?
There has. The Senate action is the newest element here. A coastal group of senators have put together a longer-term reauthorization for flood, but it really closely adheres to the status quo, the way the program works, and very consumer-friendly in the sense that it doesn't want to make changes to risk management of the program that would have the effect of raising premiums. The program is really deeply in arrears. The House bill strikes a compromise in that regard, bipartisan compromise that passed the House Financial Services Committee unanimously, and so that bill is poised to move. It's going to be difficult to reconcile these two versions, and I would say to our members, stay tuned for a series of short-term reauthorizations. We don't want the program to lapse. We're going to work with lawmakers to make sure that doesn't happen. It's due to expire, the program authority, on September 30th. So hopefully before the end of the year, we'll get that reconciled. But we're going to do our level best to make sure that is not something that disrupts things at the closing table.
Yeah, and it's one of those issues at this time of year especially that pops up in the press a lot. So
absolutely, and with all the storms and hurricane season upon us. Absolutely.
Well, great. Thanks so much for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.